We're back with more NBA playoff coverage, and in this one, I will be going into all the game 2 action to get things started. We have the Pistons and Knicks in game 2 on Monday, where to start things out, it appeared as though the Pistons did a much better job of accounting for Karl Anthony Towns in this game, especially Jalen Green to start things out. Now, granted, with some of the early buckets, this is still Towns we're talking about. One of the best centers in the league, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So naturally, he's going to get some at some point. But Doran, for the better portion of the game, did his best to stay out of foul trouble and also give him some pressure. But they also got good rotations as well, even with some smaller guys. They were able to trade some more physical jabs with him in this one. And it felt like over the course of the game, as we would see, and given how he would play later, which I'll get to in a little bit, he was certainly thrown off by it. Also, to start things out on the offensive side of the basketball, they were relatively clean. Now, there were a few slip-ups at times, and the Knicks were able to convert on those opportunities like the game prior. But there was nothing incredibly crazy that took place yet, comparative to that 21-0 run they gave up in the first ball game. And that's credit to what Cade Cunningham was able to do right out the gates, because they didn't stop sending blitzes or double teams at Cunningham at all. But he took it in stride. He did a much better job of reading the play at hand and just showing a will to be aggressive and match that kind of intensity by just muscling his way to some of those spots on the court and getting buckets to go. No one could really guard Jalen Brunson without fouling. They tried to give Asar Thompson that assignment. Maybe some of the calls were bad, but at the same time, it gets to a point where you just gotta stay disciplined, man. That is what it comes down to. And Asar Thompson clearly just did not get the memo, because he was still, he was struggling from the field, but the Knicks were able to stay alive in this first half, especially with the sheer amount of free throws he was able to accrue and the sheer amount of fouls he was able to draw in the first place. It was insane. Still, decent shooting outside and great interior offense in the paint kept the Knicks honest and at a deficit as the Pistons would enter the second quarter with a 6-point lead. Now, in the third quarter, you would have some of the other core players for the Knicks step up. It was Anunoby in the first game, and it was Mikal Bridges this time. You also didn't hear much from Cameron Payne either. Now, was it enough to help Brunson? Jury's still out on that. But when it seemed like the Pistons were going to take full control, because with Paul Reed getting a layup, the lead increased to 15. Then you would see the Knicks start to string together some offensive possessions. A Mikal Bridges 3 into a typical Jalen Brunson bucket, and then another flurry of buckets from Jalen Brunson to get the lead down to 8 after a Cade Cunningham free throw and then miss on the second attempt. The fourth quarter had killed the Pistons in the last game, so were they going to be able to overcome it this time? Now, granted, at some point, they had to be careful, because for the larger portion of this, they were going to have to get the job done without Asar Thompson guarding Jalen Brunson because he was in deep foul trouble. They had no choice. And this is where you would see Duran deteriorate just a little bit as well as far as his defense goes, because he would also get himself in deep foul trouble in this quarter. So you want to make sure, if you're the Pistons, that you have your core staying out there and helping Cade Cunningham. They were certainly going to need it too, given how things were about to go, because they would take another 13-point lead with 7 minutes and 10 seconds left to go, and then Jalen Brunson would single-handedly start a spurt to get the Knicks back in this ball game. OG Anunoby got a couple of free throws, but when nobody else was doing much of anything for the Knicks, they relied on their playmaker, and you could argue their best player in Jalen Brunson, to vault them back into potential victory. And he did just that. Jalen Brunson was just getting in a fucking zone. No one could guard him. Even with them sending a double team, sending bigger players, he just cooked and worked his way right past those potential matchups. Jalen Brunson would then draw so much attention that Jalen Duran, after turning the ball over sloppily, would just allow Josh Hart to get right in the dunker spot. And Jalen Brunson found a wide open Hart for what would be the game-tying bucket. All of a sudden, it felt like the Pistons were truly about to go out the same way. And the mistakes that were a part of that large run in Game 1 literally worked their way right back into this game here. And again, similarly, the veterans this time also kind of caused all of this shit to happen. But nevertheless, it was affecting everybody, not just a set group of players. Reckless turnovers, a cold offensive stretch, and all of a sudden, with around a minute and 15 seconds, you have to try to gain this lead back to avoid going down 0-2. Dennis Schroder apparently understood the assignment, and he would hit a well-timed three-pointer to give the Pistons a lead. Now, they would have to get back on defense and guard up. They got a little lucky because, to be honest, with how this was set up, you had Jalen Brunson miss and then Malik Beasley miss. The Knicks would have a good possession and ultimately generate a very good look for a wide-open Mikal Bridges. But he missed it, giving the Pistons a chance to close it out at the line. And Dennis Schroder would eventually make it a two-possession ball game with at least one made free throw out of the two. Then Jalen Duran would close out the scoring and give the Pistons the victory, winning 100-94 on Monday night, as they would nab their first playoff win since 2008. A 17-year drought, and the very few playoff appearances that they've had since that time, not to mention. But they had not won since May of that year. So regardless of what could potentially happen, the fact that you've done this is pretty fucking special. As I mentioned, man, credit to Cade Cunningham. He balled the hell out. He just stuck it right to him. Like, OG Anunoby didn't even want half of the smoke in this one. He looked inferior to him, which is rare for, any player that he's guarding. Cade Cunningham just had his way here. 33 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists on 11 of 21 shooting. Dennis Schroder notched 20 points off the bench in 29 minutes, including the clutch three-pointer I mentioned. Tobias Harris had 15 points on 6 of 11 shooting, along with 13 rebounds. A double-double for him. Jalen Green had 12 points and 13 rebounds as well on 3 of 4 shooting. Asar Thompson, gotta have a word about Asar Thompson. Man fouled out of the ball game in 21 minutes of play. Again, I get that Brunson is a very difficult matchup to account for, but at the same time, dude, that is just asinine. And sure, the defense is pretty legit with this Pistons squad, but you're one of their better defenders already. And you just get yourself out of the game like that. That's horrible. As for the Knicks, Brunson had 37 points, 7 assists, and 6 turnovers on total 27 shooting. Mikal Bridges had 19 points. And then really nobody else in the starting position did anything of note. I mean, Anunoby had 10 on below average shooting for that standpoint. Josh Hart had 10 points on below average shooting, and then Karl Anthony Towns. A large part of why the Pistons were able to win this game is because he literally got completely nullified, bro. He didn't score a single point in the fourth quarter. And I also believe in the second half, I don't even think he scored anything either. A player regarded as one of the best offensive centers in the league today, in a key playoff game, does nothing in the second half when it counts. And as your team is consistently keeping the game close, there were pockets of time where they were getting blown out, but it wasn't that bad. They were making their way back into it. And something from you at that point could have certainly helped. But he didn't provide that for them. So now they would end up going into the Little Caesars Arena, I believe, with an even matchup. Don't know if they wanted to do that because I don't know necessarily about how elite their home court advantage is, but I can tell you this. Those fans in Detroit would certainly be excited to see a Pistons squad who just last season was fighting for the fucking top overall pick. You get to see that team in the playoffs now for the first time under this specific iteration. Yeah, you're going to be on cloud 9 if you're them. I kid you not. Well, moving on to the Clippers and Nuggets. In this one, this was quite literally a reversal of fortune for both teams, because the Nuggets would actually be the squad that got off to the hotter start. Now, it did not help that the Clippers, granted, Norman Powell did struggle last game, so they tried to get him going. This man missed the first 5 shots of this ball game, all in the early stretches of it. So that certainly put the Clippers just down early. And their offense was just clicking all over. They weren't necessarily spacing them out like you would hope. But with the kind of ball movement they were getting, natural for an offense being led by a guy in Nikola Jokic that just does that with ease. They were able to generate pretty good looks that caught the Clippers defense off guard. It also helped that, Zubac's defense on Jokic alone to start off was not necessarily the best to start off. That would change in the second quarter because I kid you not, you definitely don't want to let Nikola Jokic get in the middle of the court because he will carve you up. But recognizing this, the Clippers were hell-bent on ensuring that every time Jokic took so much as a step to try to bury some defender deep in the paint, there was always an extra defender in the lane to clog it up, or there was always somebody trailing him and watching him like a hawk to then snatch the ball from behind or just distract him. And it opened things up for the Clippers tremendously on that side of the ball. So the Nuggets went through a colder streak there. Also, Kawhi Leonard was unrelenting. He just couldn't fucking miss at all. Not only did he have 12 first quarter points to at least keep the Clippers within range despite them going through all of that shit, but this man quite literally missed just a single shot from the field in the first half of this game. And he also hit a fucking buzzer beater 3-point shot with 3 people trying to guard him. When you have Kawhi Leonard being that unfazed by a defense, you could imagine that it's probably going to be a tremendous night for him. Now, not to be outdone, the Nuggets would start out pretty well, taking the lead right back. And then from there, the game was really just a great display of a fucking chess match, man. Both teams were just keeping it tight. No runs were really sustained for too long. This was just pure playoff basketball. They were just going at each other's throats, best on best. Norman Powell started to hit a few shots, but you had the collective efforts of Nikola Jokic making timely plays, James Harden facilitating the offense exceptionally well, natural for him also. The would stretch out to a 7-point lead for the Clippers due to Nicholas Batum making a damn 3, but Nikola Jokic would have a couple responses in him. It was a 2-point ball game at the end of the third. It all came down to the fourth quarter, just like it did in the last game prior to that, getting into overtime. Jokic, in terms of scoring, was doing well, but again, with this kind of pressure coming in, he was starting to get a little desperate because they were able to force him into a high number of turnovers in this one. Some of them costly that led to a few Clippers buckets down the stretch. And also, he would start just flopping around the court. There was a sequence where, I guess James Harden hit him or something, and this man just flopped all the way down on the ground. I'm like, yo, what? How is that possible? We're talking about a man that is 6'11", 284, Nikola Jokic, flopping. And he hit that ground hard. But, hey, okay. Westbrook also had some really bad turnovers in this one. For a player who had been doing fine in the last game and then from shooting in this one, he was pretty damn good and efficient. But it's about more than scoring. You have to protect the ball in the playoffs. There's just no way you're going to win a basketball game by just throwing it recklessly all over the court. Now, it would be a tie ball game after a weird sequence from another Nikola Jokic turnover, because Dunn would get him pretty fucking good. And Harden was trying to get an outlet pass, but Nikola Jokic would put his hands up, ball got deflected. He would end up getting the ball back in his hands. And Michael Porter Jr. was just standing on the wing. It took about a few seconds for him to pass it over to him. I guess he really just had to think about it for a second. But either way, we knew that man was firing, and he ended up making a shot to tie it up. Michael Porter Jr. would also temporarily give them the lead prior to an attempted and one from Ivica Zubac. Kawhi also just doing Kawhi things on a double team. Like double team, triple team, it didn't matter. He was just automatic. Jamal Murray would then tie up the ball game once again. And then Norm Powell would actually get another opportunistic steal on Michael Porter Jr. at this time to give them a 3-point lead late for a huge bucket on his end. Also hurt the Nuggets tremendously in that moment because Michael Porter Jr. would go down with an injury, and I don't believe he returned back to this game either. So that was certainly rough. Kawhi would essentially get the last bucket for the Clippers with around 54 seconds left, as he just got another cash money shot to go. The Nuggets would have a chance to at least tie or take the lead on multiple possessions, but the first one would see it end with another untimely turnover. And the second one saw multiple untimely misses from Christian Braun originally. And then you would have Nikola Jokic try to do a sombor shuffle three with Kawhi Leonard contesting it, making it incredibly difficult on him. And he just bricked the shot. As unfortunate as it was, that was the Nuggets' undoing here. It's the same way the Clippers went out in the first one. You just cannot make those kinds of crucial mistakes late in a basketball game. The other team will certainly be able to feed off that for victory. And they were also able to, once again, just feed off Kawhi. We're talking about a man who shot pretty much 11 of 12, over 91% shooting from inside the paint. Or inside the three-point line. A few mid-range shots, some layups, some dunks. And 15 of 19 shooting on the night overall. Along with 39 points for him, 4 threes, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block, and 3 rebounds. That was his 36th career playoff game with 30 or more points, ranking him 5th all-time after guys like Harden, ironically enough, Curry, LeBron, and I believe Westbrook. I believe, well, it might be Durant. It's one of those two for sure on that list. Still, exceptional work by him. You also had Ivica Zubac get 16 points and 12 rebounds on 6 of 10 shooting. And James Harden had 18 points, 7 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks somehow on 7 of 17 shooting with 4 threes. As for the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic notched his 19th career playoff triple-double, which would be the 3rd most all time. But despite having this 26, 11, and 10 game with 3 steals, he also had 7 turnovers. Now, again, I don't think we'll ever see him get over 10 once more, but to have a ratio that is that below average, even for his standards, certainly just afflicted them throughout this night. So many turnovers, in a 3-point ball game, those are just wasted possessions at that point. You just have to eradicate them. 15 points and 15 rebounds for Michael Porter Jr. in this game, though. He played well. You can't deny that. He played exceptionally well in this one. Russell Westbrook off the bench had 14 points and 4 rebounds on 5 of 11, shooting with 3 threes. Aaron Gordon had 14 points as well. And Jamal Murray had 23, 6 assists as well on 9 of 17, shooting with 4 threes. Was wearing the double sleeves and everything. And shit, again, hey, the series has a chance to go to 7, man. I mean, you look at it, especially through the lens of these first two, it's been close all the way throughout. Neither team had necessarily taken an exceptionally high lead that they were able to sustain. And things were getting chippy throughout this one. There was a spat where Jamal Murray damn near picked up and slammed down Norman Powell, and he wasn't having this shit. But they got double teed up, and Jamal Murray was able to shoot free throws. Even one of the people on the broadcast team stated that it just doesn't make sense in a situation like that because you can't, again, literally, his sentiments essentially stated that, bro, you're not going to have him be a robot, in essence, in that situation. That man got picked up and just lifted off the ground. You expect him to keep his composure in that moment? No. You can't, not all humans are wired in that way, dude. They have real emotions. They're not gonna just take that shit. So, again, I don't even know about a double technical, but, hey. Even with that going down, Norman Powell got the last laugh. Pretty much. Moving on to the Grizzlies and the Thunder on Tuesday, and a good amount of the traces left from Game 1, that tragic, historically bad Game 1, carried over in Game 2. Really, in just mentality, I suppose. I mean, naturally, outside of the first couple of minutes of the game, the Grizzlies did actually bring some defensive intensity, but it just naturally started to wear off as the Grizzlies would just let pretty much everyone else but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander beat them in a multitude of ways. And the only reason why that was happening was because he was just missing shots that were routine for him in the regular season. That's all that is. If he was truly, fully, I'm not going to say he's not locked in, but he usually hits those shots 9 times out of fucking 10, and a lot of them were just lucky. Also, for the Grizzlies offense, they were still nowhere to be seen. Absolutely no one. It took them a shit ton of time. The first fucking 3 minutes and 33 seconds of the ball game, they didn't score anything. As the Thunder raced out to a 9-0 lead, despite that defensive effort. If your offense doesn't have any response to match up with this team, I don't know how you expect to win. And then not to mention, too, a lot of their early misses were just horrifically bad. Now, naturally, when you're playing against a team who has legitimately good defenders all throughout their rotation, it's going to be hard to get your spots. It's going to be hard to generate good looks. And it's going to be hard to create offense generally because they're going to do everything in their power from a physical standpoint, from a schematic standpoint. They are going to find every way possible to stop you. Still, a lot of them were just horrifying to watch these players take. Also, too, let me tell you something right now. because let me check this out. So the Thunder would essentially extend the lead to 20. But keep in mind, too, that just a little earlier I mentioned that this was still a single-digit ball game. Let me tell you something right now. They did do fine in giving Luke Kennard minutes early. But the John Konchar minutes need to be eliminated. I have been keying in on what the hell's been going on. He needs to stop getting playing time. He is just a liability in every sense of the imagination. Like, how does the lead go from 8 points? He subs in at 4:58. And everything goes to shit. The Thunder balloon to a fucking 32-point quarter magically as soon as he gets in the ballgame. There's something that needs to be said about that. Now, again, it's not just him, but he legitimately doesn't know what he's doing out there. Like, bro, they were able to pick on him at multiple points. And offensively, oh my goodness. Like, I just, it felt like he got in the way of what they were trying to do, which wasn't even working from a general sense, but bro, you just have to be wise about how you allocate these minutes. That's all I'm saying. As I mentioned, yeah, literally an aggressive fucking scoring barrage. Like, it was going the exact same way, and then you get into the second quarter, and it just gets progressively worse. I mean, at a point in the second quarter, all 9 players that had logged at least a few minutes in this particular game so far had registered points on the fucking board. The true death of the team showing. And again, I would think that Yazawa would try to switch something up at that point, but he just doesn't necessarily have the experience to truly adjust to that. At least in the NBA setting. Obviously, I believe overseas they mentioned he was a head coach. But obviously the NBA is quite different in many facets in terms of pacing and things like that. So to expect him to make that happen on the fly might be asking a little much. Still, something's got to give when you initially go down by 17 points and then see that lead continue to increase with every single person imaginable making plays. I mean, Caruso didn't even score last game because, as I mentioned in that, he didn't even take a fucking shot. And now all of a sudden, he's hitting high arcing ass 3-pointers. He's getting in the paint for layups and bodying your fucking players up on the offensive side of the basketball. Then, you know, you would have them closing out with Jalen Williams getting 4 points in this stretch to get the lead back to 18 points heading into the third quarter. Now, I will give credit to Memphis here. They made things a little rougher on them in this period of time. I mean, they started off hot offensively, to their credit. And they made things much more difficult for some of the other role players, which emboldened Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to step up to an extent. He would get a few more points in this period, just getting right to the rim at will as the slasher he is, right? Scottie Pippen Jr., though, would get a couple free throws, and then you would have the Grizzlies trade a little back and forth to where the game was now at 11, at an 11-point deficit heading into the fourth quarter. You know, It's still not the best, but down from high or middle of, the 20s to now just 11 from an 18-point deficit at the beginning. The potential is there. Too bad they didn't capitalize on that at all, because they would get right back to just playing sloppy defense and playing terrible offensively. Desmond Bane, while he did get a few shots in this period, has just been horrifically bad this entire series on offense. And that did not change in this game, only adding to the issue. Also, rotations started to slip tremendously. They weren't sliding their fucking feet and getting in the right fucking zones to confront these damn shooters and make it hard on them to even get up these shots. So easy ones just were down left and right. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would finish off the game fittingly with another dunk to give the Thunder a 118-99 victory in this game too. The Thunder didn't necessarily shoot the best from three and had only a slight advantage in free throws, but the fact that they were able to get so many second chance opportunities and the fact that they attempted 104 field goals compared to the Grizzlies' 91, like a 13 rebound advantage, 7 offensive rebound advantage, just domination once more in every sense of the word. Even if they did keep it close for just a little bit of time, that still wasn't enough for them. With that, the Thunder had the second highest margin of victory in a playoff series through 2 games all time. As, again, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, by and large, struggled. 27 points, sure. 5 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, okay. But let's talk about 10 of 29 from the field, though. Again, a lot of them were routine misses for him. Naturally, if you put him in that same position, he'll probably hit those shots more often than not. But again, the fact that they are still in a position where it's like they are keeping you at bay and beating the shit out of you without the best player, their best player also, on the best team in the NBA, not doing anything that special. You essentially haven't even seen the worst of it yet. And they are just giving you this damn work. Like, that is just crazy to think about. Just up and down the list, every single player scored. Caruso had 13 on 5 of 10 shooting off the bench. Chet Holmgren had 20 points on 6 of 14 shooting with 11 boards. Dort had 8 points and 9 rebounds. Hartenstein had 6 points and 10 rebounds. And Jalen Williams had 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists on 10 of 19 shooting with 2 threes. And you gotta respect that at that point. That is just a testament to how Sam Presti has constructed this roster, essentially with every single move he's made, in essence, over the past damn near decade now. Just think about that. And now they are here with a chance to potentially, if things don't change, they could sweep this team. If that wasn't made clear after the first game, I don't know what to tell you. As for the Grizzlies, you would get fine contributions from all these guys in Bane, Jackson Jr., and Morant, but they were still question marks unto themselves. Morant still finished with 6 assists and 5 turnovers, and shot just 10 of 25 from the field. Desmond Bane, 19 points, 12 rebounds for him, but just 7 of 17 shooting. Jaren Jackson Jr. had 26 points on 10 of 17 shooting with 2 threes and also 6 rebounds. Scottie Pippen Jr. is in a tough spot, though, because I think they have him. I think Bane is probably playing the small forward position. Nevertheless, with him being on the court and having a smaller frame compared to the sheer amount of size mismatches on the Thunder team, when you stack them up against him, they have been just hunting him defensively and offensively. Life has been hard for him so far. Just 13 points in this one, but on 4 of 12 shooting. And you would also have Zach Edey just not get too active on offense. At least, though, Yazalo did understand that you probably don't play John Conchar too many minutes. He played just 10. But you're better off just shortening up your lineup, man, because he's just not it. And granted, again, would he be playing at all if guys like Brandon Clark and Jalen Wells were still healthy, is what you have to ask yourself. And the answer to that is probably not, but I suppose you're just doing what you can, all that you can at this point, with what you're being provided. Still, I don't think it's worth a damn, man. He just can't play. He can't. I haven't seen anything from him that suggests that he can. It's as simple as that. Moving on to the Bucks and Pacers, and I did not watch this game live because the NBA has just been doing some stupid shit so far, and I really hope that this shit changes as the series go on. Because, bro, like, you have a good amount of these playoff series so far with the potential to be really fucking good. And I guess during the weekdays in a given week, for whatever reason, they are just putting one of the 3 ball games on any given night on NBA TV for some reason. I don't have access to no goddamn NBA TV, so of course I'm not going to be able to tune in that way. And then even when you, like, most people don't, granted. And then even then, with the whole fucking shit going on this season, of the fact that you literally still have a chance, if you are in certain regions of the fucking country, to have one of these games get blacked out. Anyways, so then people with NBA TV in the first fucking place may still not be able to see the game live and watch everything play out in real time. It's crazy. But I did see some things happen in post. All I gotta say is that I thought that Dame was gonna beat Tyrese Halliburton's ass. I thought he was going to beat his ass. I don't know what happened. Now, yes, to be fair, obviously, he's been out for so long. And if he has truly recovered from this injury, because, again, I just cannot see how, like, it's a great thing if it did happen, but I feel like the doctors just cleared him to play because they understood that his services were going to be needed. I just cannot fathom that it's truly gone completely, this blood clot. I just don't believe that at this moment of time. It could be, and again, if it is, great. But I guess only time will tell. Anyways, again, you know, that's fair for Damian Lillard, but at the same time, his showing was just absolutely not on par. And granted, that could be expected. But when you're going to say that and then have that happen, just 14 points and 7 assists for him. Again, that's not to be slept on. he did also hit some clutch shots late for context. Like, the Bucks were down by a load of points, and actually, with one of his shots, they actually got within 2, I believe, prior to Andrew Nembhard clutching it up after some more rah-rah between the basketball teams. That's fine, but 4 of 13 shooting is just simply not good. You pair that up and stack that, compare it to Tyrese Halliburton's output of 21 points and 12 assists with 5 rebounds. 8 of 19 shooting is a little inflated. He took some late shots that he probably had no business taking, to be honest. Like, he pushed off Kyle Kuzma. I thought he got crossed up. That would have been hilarious. He got pushed off, and then, bro, I think Giannis packed the fuck out of him. So that's pretty tough. But he was definitely on fire in this one compared to his entire game in Game 1. And that kind of ability to turn on a sort of aggressive streak in this game did open things up a little more for the Pacers. Granted, that had been the case already with his facilitating, but whenever you can get an aggressive Tyrese Halliburton, it makes the Pacers even more lethal than they already are. And that is something people don't necessarily seem to understand, because the shit is crazy. Now, I will talk about a few more of the numbers here. The Pacers would win, by the way, 123-115 for context. Pascal Siakam will get 24 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals on 8 of 16 shooting with 2 threes. Andrew Nembhard would add 17 points once again with 6 assists on 6 of 10 shooting in 3 threes. And Aaron E. Smith would have 16 points. Miles Turner would have 15 points, virtually just scoring. Benedict Mathurin would also have 14 points off the bench, pure scoring on 4 of 10 shooting. As for the Bucks, Giannis had another masterclass of a game, and it's just tough. You know, now that Damian Lillard's back, and I mean, maybe for Game 3, if he is, fully ready this time, they could give the Pacers a little more of a fight. But still, the fact that they were in this is a testament to just how damn good this man is, how great he is, regardless of whether or not people want to admit it. 34 points, 18 rebounds, and 7 assists for him with a block on 14 of 20 shooting. Bobby Portis Jr. also had himself a hell of a game, which is also gotta suck for the Bucks, man. Like, you get this great of a game from a guy in Bobby Portis Jr. who currently comes off the bench, and in 32 minutes, he puts up 28 points, 12 rebounds without a single turnover, then goes 11 of 19 shooting from the field with 6 damn threes. After you struggled from the fucking 3-point last game, he gave you the spark from range that you needed. And they shot well, 50.6%, 40% from the 3-point line. You were right in it with them. Now, free throws hurt them. They missed 6 compared to the Pacers going perfect from the line. Perfect 19 of 19. But the Bucks did give themselves a chance with Bobby Portis Jr. You just needed someone else in that moment to complement that, I suppose. Kyle Kuzma, at least, got on the board. He had 12 points as well on 5 of 10 shooting without a 3. Taurean Prince had 6, and then Brook Lopez had 8. Before this game, too, they also released some results of a fucking anonymous player poll talking about Tyrese Halliburton getting 14 votes out of 90 random players as being the most overrated player in the fucking league. I'm like, what? What are you talking about, overrated? You gotta be fucking kidding me. There's just no way, dude. It is so mind-numbing. But you know what? If you're gonna say that, I guess stand on that. The fact that the Bucks now face an 0-2 deficit heading back into Milwaukee Granted, they have strong home court advantage. I know they're going to bring all the energy they can. But again, all the odds, when you look at history, are very stacked against them with this kind of record in this series so far. So they need to figure it out for real, because it's not a desirable spot to be in. You look at the numbers, like the percentages are very high when it comes to teams winning an entire series after going up 2-0. So it's not looking the best for them. I can tell you that much. Moving on to the Timberwolves versus the Lakers on Tuesday. All I'm going to say is this. You got to credit JJ Redick, because even in games, following certain teams being able to torch the hell out of the Lakers, one thing he has done, at least for some of these star players, is do a great job of scheming up different defenses to account for him. And whatever kind of formation he was set on running against Anthony Edwards' work wasn't even really like a formation, but they wanted to pressure him. They wanted to continue ensuring that he would not be the player to make things happen for the Timberwolves in this game. They were not going to let him be a scorer. They were going to turn him into a facilitator once again. But they also, again, with that, they were just truly intense out there on that side of the ball and very calculated in their own decision-making and collective defensive IQ. I mean, rotations were essentially set before Anthony Edwards could even make his move, to where even when it seemed like for a split second shots were open, they were not. And this was the biggest takeaway from this game. The Timberwolves, after going on that historic tear from three, were not able to do a damn thing from deep. They were forced to do a little more than just aim and fire up a fucking shot. The Lakers defense made them think a lot more. And with the volume of threes going down a little bit, they were able to run them off the line successfully on a few occasions. It also helped that we know that Luka Doncic kept fucking seeking out Rudy Gobert. But outside of that, they were able to do a little more outside of that isolation basketball. The ball movement on offense was also tremendous in just forcing the Timberwolves defense to get scrambled even more, because now with opening that up, you don't know what could potentially happen on a given possession. You could have Luka Doncic doing that, but at the same time, he might be able to sneak an open pass that leads to a hockey assist of sorts for another player into another easy shot. That's exactly how this first quarter went, as the Lakers would go on essentially a 34-15 tear, and baked in it by the end of the first half, a 51-31 overall run, with the Lakers going up by 15 at the break. The Timberwolves had to recognize it was game time from there, and they were kind of able to weaken some of those offensive elements for the Lakers down the stretch, but the Lakers' defense was still intact for the most part. And, even with Rudy Gobert, for instance, being able to get a steal on an attempted Luka Doncic hunting session, and and have the Timberwolves go on a short run. They weren't too long lasting for the Lakers to be truly affected enough. By that time, you would see them increase the lead to 20, though, which is telling you, and then 21. To get up with that kind of an advantage and then let it slip away like that is a concern. Also, note too that the fourth quarter for both of these teams, from a person that can appreciate defense, I did not mind it at all. They made the assignment much harder on each other. But a lot of it was just sloppy at the same time. Especially for the Timberwolves. And especially, well, for the Timberwolves defensively when you think about it. Because while they did manage to get some really good stops on the Lakers offense at the same time, they could not play defense without fouling for the entire game. I mean, I kid you not. Like, they were in deep foul trouble. Which, honestly, you could argue hurt them more in this ballgame. Nas Reed was out for an extended period of time and played just a few minutes compared to what he did in the first game. Dante DiVincenzo had like fucking 3 fouls in the first quarter after elbowing the shit out of fucking... I think it was Gabe Vincent that got hit. But he elbowed the shit out of him. Right? They had to play Terrence Shannon Jr., for example, for a little bit of time. In a situation where you recognize that you're going to be slower on the offensive side without Gobert, having those two players out was just going to be rough. And defensively, it hurt them even more because now with less bodies, is like, what can you truly cook up on that side? I just couldn't really fathom them being able to overcome that. Because they just could not, for the love of goodness, keep their hands off of people. It's like weird, guys. Like, come on, man. The Lakers offense as well, dude. They had some of the most reckless turnovers and just some of their play designs as well with how they were executed or not. They severely questioned and confused me. I had to think about a lot in those moments because there was just no way. You know, the Timberwolves, again, they were able to get it closer and closer, but it just was not enough. And the Lakers would ultimately close it out with a 94-85 win, despite putting up just a 13-point fourth quarter. Highly inefficient quarter for them. It just was not a good one. But their defense, obviously they lost this period, but they did fine enough to manage and just weather the storm there despite it. Luka Doncic still went crazy in this one. 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists for him, making him the first Laker since Shaquille O'Neal in the third overall with O'Neal and Elgin Baylor to put up over 30 points in their first 2 playoff games as a Laker. He shot 9 of 20 from the field and made just 2 threes. LeBron, they were trying to incorporate him early and often, which did end up working. You know, he's not necessarily the same guy he once was, but he is still a force to be reckoned with even at this age. Had 11 rebounds and 7 assists on 8 of 19 shooting with those 21 points. Austin Reeves had 16 points and 5 rebounds and assists on 7 of 14 shooting. He didn't make a 3, but he was able to make Rudy Gobert dance and drove right past him on a couple of occasions. Rui Hachimura would also have 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals. As for the Timberwolves, while Anthony Edwards did score well, he did not log a single assist and had 2 turnovers. He shot just 10 of 22 from the field. He didn't shoot well from 3 at all, and that was a large reason why the entire team struggled from that range. I mean, Julius Randle had a much better game, honestly, from multiple ends, which surprised me. 27 points, 4 rebounds and 6 assists for him. He was in foul trouble as well. Finished the game with 5. And, I mean, he shot 9 of 17 with 2 threes made, though. So, again, just a lot of inconsistency. Like, if one thing was working, then you could always count on something else just going haywire for a player at any given moment. Naz Reid, nobody outside of those two really provided any offense. Naz Reid had just 9. Jaden McDaniels, after having that exceptional game 1, just 3 of 11 shooting and 8 points. Gobert had 6, but you're never going to expect him to do anything. Michael Conley Jr. also finished the game with 0 points. Now, at least he had 6 rebounds and an assist, but, what is with these players in these playoff games just running around for all this time and not scoring? I don't understand. This is no disrespect to the Ohio State man. It's just, man, oh my goodness. Oh, correction. Okay. Mikan was the very first Laker to have multiple 30-point games in their first 2. Not Baylor. It's Mikan, O'Neal, and Doncic. Fair enough. Okay. Yep, Timberwolves, when you are in a position where you're shooting just 20% from 3, it's just not going to be a great tell on your chance of coming out with a victory on a given night. Now, to be granted, the Lakers shot only, they didn't even shoot better. They were in the same ballpark, akin to some of their past seasons. But that's just it. The Lakers got an exceptional win, making the Timberwolves play their brand of basketball to an extent. And through it all, even though they tried, they ultimately were not able to match that. And so the Lakers were able to get themselves a win, go over to I'll just say the Timberwolves arena. I should understand. Oh, no, Target? Hold on. Target Center. Oh, my goodness. Okay, hold on. Yeah, wow. Okay. That's crazy. But, yeah, they will head back over to Minnesota with an even series instead of not coming away with any win. And, again, that's always crucial given how these odds stack up. So, all right, moving on to the Magic and the Celtics on Wednesday. The Magic, they just, oh my goodness, You cannot inherently be fooled by the final score of this game. But I will say it was a good reflection of how things were earlier. Like, they were right there. But no matter what, even with, again, Banchero and Wagner producing, they just could not string together anything consistently on offense. They just, like, I don't know. They literally, as I'm watching the game, I am seeing them go down by large margins and then be able to work themselves back into a game briefly. And that is for a reason. Now, again, some of the earlier shots that the Celtics had were just open as shit because the defense is also just leaving a lot to be desired when they know that they are much better than what they're showing. Like, we know the Celtics can shoot the fucking ball. That doesn't mean you let them get wide open shot after wide open shot. And yet, every time the Magic were able to go on a short run and make things interesting, it happened because they tightened up on defense and made sure to get their rotations over in time. And they were also able to impose their will in the paint. In the paint. Like, do the Celtics not realize that they are a team that shot the worst percentage from fucking three in the regular season by far? Like, there is no reason why I should be seeing them shoot as many fucking three-pointers as they are because they can't make them. Even when we look at the earlier portions of this game, look no further than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. You bring him over to kind of boost that fucking shooting prowess for the entire team. That nigga didn't hit a single three in this game. And those kinds of shots just being generated time and time again, whether open or not, you know that they aren't going to be made. You are shooting yourselves out of fucking ball games doing this shit. And then the Magic would combine that on some of these droughts with more untimely turnovers. Granted, a lot of the players are young, so they're going to be prone to it. But at some point, you can't have both. Because, to be honest, you cannot have an excessive amount of turnovers. Like, that's just a bad match to pair up that many fucking turnovers with that kind of horrible shooting. Like, if your offense is predicated on the pass and you typically generate good looks and it requires a lot of ball movement, we can understand high turnover rates there. I mean, being a Warriors fan, you see how they operate their offense. It's literally free-flowing. So, naturally, some turnovers are bound to pile up. The Magic seem to run a more traditional offense because, once more, they tried to generate touches in the post for Banchero this time. So, they're looking for opportunities like that. They require just simple passes. There's nothing exotic about it. And you're still turning the ball over. It's horrible. I mean, to their credit, they were able to get him a few looks against Kornet down there, and he was able to torch him because Kornet obviously is not skilled at all. I'm gonna be brutally honest about that. He's not good at all. He does nothing. He contributes nothing to a basketball team. But against very strong defenders, regardless of size, too. I don't know what it is with Boncher. I mean, he stands that tall, and a lot of the matchups he gets, he was matched up against Holiday, was matched up against White. He towers over these guys in height, and he has more size than them. There was literally a sequence as well where he was bringing the ball up the court, and they just hawked his ass down. But that is how great both of their on-ball pressure and general defense is. So that created a ton of issues for the Magic as well. Porzingis was a matchup problem. He was not efficient from the field at all to start up the game. But a good portion of these Magic players just got themselves in situations where they just started to foul the hell out of him at this point because they just could not handle his size, even with him not necessarily being a good post player himself, but just having the size to, maybe get a few fadeaway shots or just easy floaters. He's not physical like that, but even that was still too much for them to bear. Still, the Celtics, with the help of Payton Pritchard for the most part, Porzingis at the free throw line, and then also Jalen Brown throughout this entire game, were able to just invoke new life in the Celtics offense without Jason Tatum. He was out due to injury in this one from the last game after a hard fall that he suffered late. So naturally, with a player like that, you're not going to take your chances. And yet the Celtics were still deep enough to knock off the Magic 109-100 here. I mean, Jalen Brown, this is why he was the Finals MVP last season. He stepped it up tremendously without Tatum being out there. And that's what you want to see in situations where it's just one or the other. After all, you are paying Jalen Brown a $60 million per year contract. You expect him to provide this for you if he has to lead the team. And he did that in 42 minutes, 36 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists on 12 of 19 shooting with 5 threes. Porzingis still did not finish with the greatest efficiency, but did have 20 points and 10 rebounds anyways. Bear in mind, too, that while he played 34 minutes, he also missed a few because this man, Goga Bitotse, on the Magic, it wasn't necessarily intentional, but he whacked the shit out of him to where his forehead and a sequence late in the third quarter started gushing out fucking blood. So because of that, they take him out of the ball game. He's obviously got to get patched up, and they got to get the bleeding to stop as well. They do that, and while he misses a lot of time, he does eventually make his way back to the court to finish things out. So you got to commend him for that at least. But, Bitotse, I would just stay away from him, I guess. There's no shot that should be happening. Derek White had 17 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds on 6 of 14 shooting with 3 threes. And Drew Holiday had 11 points and 6 assists on 4 of 9 shooting. Also, bro, some of the defensive plays I saw from the Magic were just atrocious as well. Late, especially. You think about a team that is that strong on defense, and then you are told about a situation where this man, Paolo Banchero, dead ass, let Derek White run circles around him for a layup. unacceptable work. Like, that's just horrible, man. But again, he did have a good game. I mean, 32 points, 7 assists, and 9 rebounds. Even with that kind of pressure being forced on him, they were not able to generate turnovers against him. It was some of the other Magic players here that were truly just being stupid with the basketball. 12 of 25 shooting as well with 2 threes. Franz Wagner had 25 points and 4 assists, 4 rebounds as well on 10 of 20 shooting. He had just 1 3. That's another example of what I'm talking about. While Wagner played well, like they were in a situation late where this was legitimately a chance for them to potentially tie the ball game, I believe. And he just chucks, or at least, well, not tie, but they're in a position to at least make their way back into this. And he decides to just chuck up a 3-pointer so damn early in the shot clock. You're not shooting that well from deep. Stop shooting. You do not need it all back in one fell swoop. If the Magic can actually stick to their guns for just a second, because again, your advantage is going to come if you can impose your will early in this situation. You're not going to beat a team who is literally coming off an NBA championship like the Celtics if you have to constantly rally back. You need to get ahead of schedule at every point of time. And I guess that is a sentiment that some people have had, you know. If they're not necessarily getting out in front early, they don't stand a chance. Again, it's hard to do against the Celtics. And, you know, the Celtics, again, to their credit, have yet to truly let that happen. But again, maybe with them playing in Orlando now for the next couple of games, they might be able to find that spark that they desperately need. Or otherwise, they are not winning. I can tell you that right now. They could also be swept. But they have been somewhat competitive compared to the Grizzlies to this point, at least. Same thing with this game right here once more, with this shit being on NBA TV. Wasn't able to watch it live. The Heat made things very interesting against the Cavs, despite the Cavs, from what I saw, putting up a quarter in which they had 11 3-pointers made, which set an NBA record in some capacity, I think, in any general game. Then you had the Heat all of a sudden work their way back to this game being within 2 points in the fourth quarter as we got into clutch time. So it's not like the Heat are just necessarily, like, they got beaten bad in the first game. But they did have a game plan in place to at least give the Cavs a run for their money. And likewise here, they could have taken the lead. But Donovan Mitchell just had to heat up late. Granted, this is Donovan Mitchell we're talking about at the end of the day, so it's to be expected. But without a player truly matching that at all, like, honestly, when you look at it, most of the team here played well. You would probably like Bam Adebayo to shoot much better from the field than just 3 of 9, but at the same time, 11 points, 14 rebounds, and 9 assists with just 2 turnovers as a small ball center. That's not terrible at all. You had Tyler Hero get 33 points as well with 6 rebounds and 5 assists. You had Davion Mitchell kind of match his output from the last game with 7 of 9 shooting and 2 threes for 18 points. And Haywood Highsmith even stepped up off the bench, giving you 17 points. The formula was there. But Nikola Jovic shot too damn much. 4 of 12 shooting for 11 points in 25 minutes. That's just not necessarily, like, granted, he could be a respectable role player, but at the same time, after just a few shots, you probably should have begun to recognize that the game plan to try and feed him probably should have switched much earlier, and you would have been golden. Also, if Andrew Wiggins just stepped up in this one, and that's the thing sometimes as well, Andrew Wiggins is obviously a good player, but man, when he is inconsistent and off, you'll know it. 10 points on 3 of 10 shooting for him in this game. And outside of that, he really didn't contribute much of anything on the offensive end. He did provide 3 blocks, the only 3 blocks that any starting player had for this team. But at the same time, he wasn't good at playmaking in this one. He wasn't crashing the boards like you would expect him to, given his overall defensive intensity. So, that just hurt the Heat even more so than the Cavs being able to take things over. Because you know that they could if you just leave that on the table. So, it is what it is. As for the Cavs in this one, despite shooting worse from the field from, a percentage standpoint, they were able to win the 3-point battle. They notched 18 more points off of threes. And at the free throw line, they were excellent. So that ultimately made up the difference for them. Is Donovan Mitchell had 30 points, 6 rebounds, and assists with a steal on 10 of 21 shooting and 7 threes. By himself, Darius Garland had 21 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists and 2 rebounds. What the fuck? 6 of 14 shooting, and Evan Mobley had 20 points with 6 rebounds, an assist, and a steal on 7 of 10 shooting with 3 threes. Max Strus also had 4 threes and 14 points, while Todd Jerome had just 6 points in this game. Look at DeAndre Hunter, after not having a single point in the last one, deciding to put up 12 points in this outing. And it paid all the dividends for them as they would go up 2-0. I don't necessarily think they're scared of traveling down to Miami either. Moving on to the Warriors against the Rockets to close out this stretch. The biggest headline from it, obviously, as has been discussed, is that Jimmy Butler III did go down with an injury. It wasn't a dirty play. I don't know, people are just going to run with that narrative, I suppose. It's not a dirty play. You can't necessarily say that anyone's at fault because it is such a freak accident, if you will. But let's be honest. Draymond Green essentially pushed Amen Thompson out of the way and into that direction. Okay? He pushed him over that way. And he could not have anticipated Jimmy Butler III going up for the rebound in that fashion. That is just how things panned out, and there's really nothing you can do about that. So to try and say all that about Amen Thompson for whatever reason is just reckless. Now, granted, with that play there, he did have 3 fouls in the first fucking quarter. So he got his ass benched. Because that is ridiculous to an extent. But that play right there is not necessarily on the fault of anyone involved. You would just hope that Jimmy Butler would be fine. And honestly, the pelvic contusion would be what he was ruled to have. Was a very similar injury to what Stephen Curry dealt with after that Raptors game earlier in the season. And in the same way, there wasn't any structural damage or fracture, but the shit fucking stings. And according to Sharanya, he would state that his chances of playing in Game 3 are very unlikely, which is what it is. If he needs to rest that up, you gotta give him space to do that. You want him at full strength. You do not want him at just a percentage of his full capacity. Now, as unfortunate as that is, not even getting into anything truly analytical, they still had to understand that they have a full roster of players that need to try and win a basketball game. Yes, Jimmy Butler III has been a godsend for this basketball team since he got there. But still, you were a team who started 12-3 on the season. And who, despite sliding terribly in the games that followed, you were still able to pull out wins in these situations, even if they came few and far between. So how do you mean to tell me that they were able to increase the lead to pretty much 20 as soon as he got out of the ball game? A lot of the situations that the Warriors found themselves in during this game, even without Jimmy Butler III being on the court, came as a result of stupid decision making. Turnovers were just all over the place. I mean, they were hunting Draymond. Stephen Curry was making some reckless decisions, and also the on-ball pressure was just insane. I mean, there was a sequence where you had Steven Adams and fucking Fred VanVleet hunting him at the fucking three-point line, and they are just hounding him for the fucking basketball. It was insane to watch. But again, granted, with Jimmy Butler III being out, and with Draymond not necessarily being seen as a threat, all your attention is going to go to Stephen Curry naturally, as crazy as it is. That's what you would expect the Rockets to do. You can't just let him go crazy, because he will torch you. Now, unfortunately for the Warriors, despite them being able to keep things relatively in range, and, at the very least in this game, an improvement is that the Rockets were not as forceful or as fucking impactful in just able to crash the offensive glass as they were in the first game. They didn't have a tremendous advantage in offensive rebounds in this one. But damn it, they had Jalen Green, and they wanted to make sure that he would not replicate a damn 7-point performance ever again. They got him going immediately, and he would heat up, especially in the third quarter, just left and right. They had him coming off of screens and just chucking up three-pointers. Hit a good variety of them because they were wide open. He was also able to slash his way into the paint, which is his true strength, and no player on the Warriors starting lineup, at least, is able to match him in the vertical sense. The Warriors would have no choice, though, but to finally play Jonathan Kuminga for the first time in forever. Now, granted, again, with Jimmy Butler III being out, that probably opened the floodgates for them to have to do something. But I still think that he should be playing either way. And the fact that he just logged that many damn DMPs in a row, it was going to be rough for him initially, even if you want him to contribute a little more than he did. Because that's also a player who is not necessarily regarded as an elite player, if you will. Not in rhythm at all. And coming back after such a prolonged benching. So the whole lineup, offensively, the fit was just off. the chemistry was seemingly not there anymore, and it just snowballed into another offensive surge from the Rockets, because the Warriors would get it close again, but another untimely turnover would force their hand. And they just were not able to overcome these flurries. These were fixable mistakes that happened. And they just piled up. That was the real problem in this game, as the Rockets would tie up the game prior to heading to Golden State with a 109, or tie up the series, winning this game 109-94. As in this game for the Rockets, as I mentioned, Jalen Green went absolutely dumb after not doing anything in the first game. He had 38 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and 3 steals on 13 of 25 shooting with 8 threes on 18 shots. Auburn Shangen as well, not necessarily the best offensive night from him in terms of efficiency, but bro, he was a fucking beast defensively. Like, bro, there was a sequence where this man was pressed up on Curry, and bro, he was getting right at him. He, again, out of everybody, seems to understand what's at stake here. And you got to respect it, even if he's not regarded as a good defensive player. The heart is there, and you can't teach that. In this one, he would contribute anyways. 17 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals for him. On 6 of 15 shooting with a 3. Dylan Brooks had 16 lucky-ass points. Tari Eason had good contribution off the bench, I guess, with 14 and 6, along with just a single turnover on 6 of 9 shooting and 2 threes. Amen Thompson had 11 points. And Fred VanVleet struggled again, but honestly, when you can get Jalen Green going like that, it didn't really matter all that much, to be honest. As for the Warriors, Stephen Curry would have 20 points and 9 assists, but 6 damn turnovers on 6 of 15 shooting and 4 threes. Moses Moody would have 12 points and 4 threes. Well, 12 points and 3 threes. Quentin Post had 4 threes in good minutes. I liked how he played tonight. He did his best, but ultimately, it was just a struggle for the team overall. Would certainly struggle. It's a given. I mean, 11 points on 4 of 12 shooting for him off the bench. Again, just, I don't know how it'll go. But at least he is back and potentially a piece to deploy in the games to follow. Pat Spencer also, yes, it was a rough road back, but he also provided some good scoring. They had an initial stretch in the second quarter where the Warriors were dangerously close to getting it within single digits, strictly because of how he was shooting the basketball. So you got to credit him with that. And then it just went, like, everything else was just bad. I mean, like, Podziemski didn't even log a single stat in 14 minutes. It was just, oh boy. Like, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. But again, it comes to Chase Center, so the Warriors could still be in good hands. It is just one game, but my goodness, man. That is atrocious. But as far as the Game 2 action goes, it'll do it for that. And, I mean, with some of the other developments here, they released the finalists and then subsequently some of the winners for just a few of the awards here. So to start things out, the Celtics would see Payton Pritchard win Sixth Man of the Year after a career-high season across the board in which he put up 14.3 points per game off the bench for 47% shooting from the field, with 40.7% shooting from deep as well, Also, 3.5 assists and 3.8 rebounds, with 0.9 steals as well. All with just a single turnover, too, as the leader of that second unit. Went a long way for them overall, so that is well deserved. There were some other compelling names up there, but ultimately Pritchard would get it done for Defensive Player of the Year, despite Dyson Daniels having a really great season and Draymond Green placing his own name in the ballot, getting some attention. Evan Mobley would ultimately win the Defensive Player of the Year award. Just being a collective force and presence overall. Numbers will not tell you everything here. Though, again, even if we take into account numbers and overall presence, we all know who would have won it if he was healthy. But it is what it is. Also, with the fact that he won this kind of award, his max rookie contract extension now increases by $45 million over the next 5 years, which also raises the Cavs salary cap next season. Could definitely make things difficult for them to retain some of their bench talent. But again, it's a byproduct of him being a really good fucking player. So it's kind of a fair spot to be in, I would think. Jalen Brunson would also win Clutch Player of the Year. I believe that you would have to at least be leading in some capacity in clutch time stats, and the Knicks certainly found themselves in that situation more often than not. So it makes a lot of sense. More often than not, when push came to shove like that, you would see Jalen Brunson be called upon to take over the game late, not Karl-Anthony Towns. And for other news here, there have been recent updates on it, but initially, yesterday, it was detailed that Alijah Arenas, the son of Gilbert Arenas, was in a fiery car crash accident that left him in a situation where he needed to be placed in an induced coma in a hospital in that respective area. He would be in that state for a little bit of time, I believe. And obviously you would have other people reeling in and sending their thoughts and prayers over to the Arenas family, certainly hitting them hard. But they would find out earlier on that he would be taken out of that induced coma. He would be able to write down certain sentiments and things like that, and he would be deemed in stable condition. So, despite that being a pretty horrible situation to be in, he does seem like he will be okay. And that's really all you can hope for in that situation. That will do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.